That came up nice. We bought this house new about 4 years ago, and this is West Texas. We're about 7 miles west of San Angelo, which is kind of a neighborhood separated from San Angelo City. As such, there is no sewage system out here. We have septic tanks. We didn't discuss the septic system too much. I knew they had to be registered with the county, but there was really no advice on how to maintain them. I've had houses before out in Washington State, in Montana, up in Oklahoma. They had septic tanks. Never had trouble with them, never had to have them pumped. In Oklahoma, I knew that the advice was that you had to add something to the, you had to flush something down the toilet. And it was these little microbes and stuff, and it would help eat up whatever's in the tank. In the 30 years it's been since I left Oklahoma, I'd forgotten all about those microbes, and when we moved out here, I just didn't think about it. So zoom ahead 4 years since we bought this place, and we noticed that the drains started gurgling whenever you'd flush a toilet, or they'd flush very slowly. So we had a plumber come out, and he ran a camera through all our drains to see if something was blocking it up. The plumber's little camera that he put down didn't show any blockages. Everything was clear, water was flowing. But he bumped into something out about where the septic tank would be. We couldn't tell what that obstruction was, but he pushed on it, and everything seemed to start working at that point. So we just thought it was something was blocking the drain, and he'd pushed it out. All well and good. But pretty much the next day, it started blocking up again, and there was something wrong. Something had to be done. So the next alternative was to just pump the tank and see what happened. So there are companies, several, that specialize in pumping out septic tanks, and they brought their shovels, very professional, dug it up, and sure enough, they got the covers off that you can see in these holes. And yeah, that tank was backed up. So they asked questions about what kind of microbes was I putting in there, and I said I hadn't put in any. And then they said, well, you need the microbes, and you've done really well not to have this tank pumped out before now. All well and good. We were lucky in another way. Some of our neighbors had actually, their septic tanks had collapsed. Why had they collapsed? Well, I guess they weren't backfilled properly when they were put in. And I guess of our 4 neighbors close to us, one of them had to have their tank replaced, and the other 3 already needed them pumped before we did. All well and good. They charged around $500. It wasn't that bad of a deal. And after 4 years, well, that's not a bad amount to pay. But what bugged me is, do I have to do this every 4 years, dig up my lawn, and especially my nice paved back footpath here? So rather than dig up my yard and, remove my footpath every 4 years, I decided to put in these manhole covers. I had risers put in that were about 1.5 feet high. And they had covers, but they weren't robust enough to walk on or have a mower run over. So I made these manhole covers. The riser lids are around 14 inches in diameter, and I had these 16.5-inch rims from a motorhome project. I used a 4.5-inch angle grinder to cut off the centers, and then off what would be the top edge of that, I cut off the rolled rim that was on there to allow a flat spot for a cover to sit. I had some aluminum checker plate it was an engine cover from a fire truck, and that was cut with my plasma cutter, made a nice round disc, and I was able to sand that smooth with this belt sander, and it made really nice covers. The one that goes underneath the footpath, I wanted to cement that in place because I didn't want it to subside or, fall into the ground. The pavers sit on top of it, and I just needed that stable. The other one wasn't so important. I laid it around and allowed a bit more room for that access cover, but it's just sitting on dirt. I've started using microbes now every month, like recommended on the product I'm using. And, I don't know when I'll have to have this tank pumped again, but I don't have to be digging up the yard or, worst of all, damaging my footpath. Thanks for watching. If you've liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next project. Yeah, that came up okay. Had to put in some filler soil here, and I've spread out some grass seeds. It was depressed here where the tank is because it settled over the 4 years that we've been here. And I had to do some over there too where the drain lines were. Anyways, that came up nice.